Number 1. This isn't my story. It's my dad's. And it happened about 4 years ago while he was on a business trip for work. He's still freaked out about it to this day, and so he told me I could post it for him here on Reddit. My dad works for a large printing company, and they had completed an overnight rush job for a business. My dad got tasked with dropping the order off. It would take about 8 hours each way to drop off the order. He was going to take my mom, as she's a retired teacher, and he figured it'd be nice to have someone to drive each way. However, the night before he was going to leave, my mom came down with the flu. He left early the next morning and promised my mom, if he got tired, he would stop at either a restaurant or a rest stop. He made it without incident to drop off the papers. It was about noon when he set off again, and soon realized that the traffic was horrible. He decided that he'd take the long way home, and it would add an hour or two, but he feared it would take longer with the traffic. He drove straight for hours until he realized he had to pee, and badly. My dad is a prostate cancer survivor, so needless to say, he pees a lot. Also, he was starting to get sleepy and figured he should pull over and maybe get a quick nap in. It was winter, so at 4:30 the sun was starting to set, and he noticed a rest stop ahead. He got out, called my mom to tell her that he was stopping to stretch his legs and maybe catch a little nap, and then headed to the restrooms. Now, the place was pretty much deserted. There was an old Chevy parked next to my dad, and there was an RV with a family packing up what was probably their dinner. He went into the restroom and opened the first stall. He was doing his business in there when he hears someone talking. He thinks at first they're talking to him, until he realizes the person is A, on the phone, or B, talking to themselves. "It's okay. It's going to be okay. We just need to take another, and then we will bring it to Mother," the man said to himself in a sing-songy voice. My dad said he sounded like he was young, between late teens to early 20s. Then, before my dad could say anything, he zipped up his pants and started to get a little freaked out, the guy screams and starts beating his head while screaming at himself in a woman's falsetto, "You're a stupid boy, a stupid, stupid boy. Mother's very angry." At that, my dad runs out of the stall and quickly opens the door and runs to his car. He locks the car door while he notices a skinny young man run out of the bathroom. He's looking for my dad and sees him in his car. My dad had the car started and was backing up when the guy runs full tilt at him screaming. My dad just drove off. He was so shaken up by this, he pulled over in the next town at a diner to get some coffee to go. He was paying for his coffee when the same Chevy pulls in. My dad grabs his coffee, hides his face, and looks at some knickknacks in the little gift shop. The kid walks in and goes up to the nice older cashier who my dad bought his coffee from. He throws his arm around this woman and starts sobbing about how he's sorry, Mother, how he let another one get away. My dad heard enough. He quickly tossed his coffee he hadn't even drank yet, as it was so hot, and he made his way slowly to his car. He got in and sped off. He didn't stop until he was safely home. To this day, my dad refuses to stop at any rest stops that look so creepy that Norman Bates and his mother would stay there. I hope my father or I never meet you again. Number 2. From the title, you know this happened in 2001 on Halloween. Halloween night, to be specific. I was 7. If you want to know my current age, do the math. My mom helped me remember this one, so if there's any further questions, I'll ask her. It was freezing, probably with 20 to 30 degree range. I was hell-bent on going out anyway. I wanted my pillowcase to be stuffed full of sweets, damn it. I was dressed as a cat. Not too hard to imagine that. Now, at the time, I had zero idea, but my rock star mom was on it, and you can thank her for her on-par memory. My mom noticed a very tall man dressed in all black. Mom said he had black jeans on, black trench coat, and a black hockey mask. He had no kids with him, so that was a huge red flag to my mom. But he did have a pumpkin basket to put candy in. He followed us around, house to house. Always stayed back 3 or 4 houses, according to my mom. After 20 or so minutes, she shrugged it off, thinking this was just some really tall kid innocently trick-or-treating. But the more she said she kept shrugging it off, the more uneasy she felt. Now, I do remember my pillowcase was only half full and my mom hurrying us home and me being super pouty about it. I do not, however, remember my mom putting the house on lockdown after we got in the front door. But she remembers, and she said she did it very quickly. I ate some candy, brushed my teeth, and got into bed. My mom laid down with me. I remember this and thought it was a little weird since I was sleeping on my own at 7. Now, this is where my mom really helped me out with this story, as I had no idea until we talked about it earlier. Fast forward to the morning. There was a pumpkin basket full of candy with a note on it that said, "Meow," in chicken scratch on our front porch right outside our front door. My mom threw out the candy in case it was tampered with and burned up the note. Now it creeps me out, and I just found out from my mom earlier, is that in the middle of the night she got up from my bed to recheck the house, looked out the window, and saw him in our front lawn staring at the house with the pumpkin basket in his hand. She didn't think he noticed her. She called the police immediately. She briefed the officer on what happened. The officer said he'd do a few rounds and patrol the area. Mom never heard back from the officer that night. Or ever, she said. Mom also told me she stayed up the entire night with a pistol in her lap after seeing the front yard. Since that night and up until right now, nothing weird with him has ever happened. But as for his intentions, zero idea. Number 3. So I was about 18 at this time, living in Canada. I moved out of my house because I wanted to be free with no rules but my own. So I decided to look for a place to stay that wasn't expensive. I found some places and went to see them, but they were around $1,500 for a basement apartment. Being young and not with much money, I thought maybe I should just stay with my parents. So, as me and my friends were walking to the bus talking about it, this random guy came out of nowhere and said he had a room in his basement for rent. I looked at him and he looked pretty normal. I said I'll check the place out. He gave me the address. My friend the next day gave me a ride there. We looked at it and it looked really nice, and I thought, this must be expensive. I asked Fred, we'll call him that, how much was rent. He said $300 a month. I thought, no fucking way. I told him I would think about it. So the next week or so, I thought, who the hell charges that cheap for rent? Being dumb and young, I said, maybe he just needs help or he's lonely. I was so wrong, and I regret it to this day. I moved in that weekend and felt really good about it. On my own, nobody to tell me what to do. Well, the first few weeks, I was barely at home, either working, at the gym, partying, so on. I came home one night drunk off my ass, but something felt off, like something was watching me. But I shook it off like I was just drunk. The next few days, I had friends over and I went out to get some smokes for us. I trusted them to be alone in my place, so it was not a problem. When I got back, they were outside waiting. So I thought, maybe they just really wanted some smokes. They saw me and ran over and said, "Dude, there was someone laughing in your wall." I didn't believe it. I thought they must be high as fuck. Then Fred came out and said, "Hope you guys are having fun," and smiled strangely, like creepy. And then Fred said he'd be back very soon. Well, they wanted me to move the fuck out, but I said it was really cheap. We were all outside debating, but one friend, Mark, went in and broke into his room. He came out after 10 minutes, white as a ghost. I said, "Where were you?" He said, "We need to grab your stuff and leave now." I said, "No, man, it's okay, just chill." And he literally put all my stuff in his truck and forced me in and wouldn't tell me what he saw. Finally, about 3 weeks later, he told me what happened. He broke into Fred's room and saw holes in his wall at my bed area. He said there was pictures of me sleeping, and the worst part was his room was empty. he was living in the crawl space. We called the police, but never heard from them. I've been living at home ever since, and because of this experience, I now have trust issues. Hey guys, thanks for listening. Like and subscribe, and remember, if you have any of your own creepy Let's Not Meet stories, email me. Okay guys, keep it creepy.